There are a lot of readathons going on in March, and I want to participate in all of them. There is Middle Earth March, Middle Grade March, Mythology March, Women's History Month, and Mood Reading March, which is not a readathon, just something I came up with because I had a pretty packed February and didn't really have any time for mood reading and was considering Mood Reading March because mood reading is something that I enjoy doing. But there's so many readathons that I also want to participate in March. So I've made TBRs for them, and let's see how many I can actually read. So today we will be going over all of the books that I plan on trying to read in March. Starting off with one that I'm definitely reading in March is Throne of Jade, because I am still hosting the Temeraire read-along. We will be reading book 2, Throne of Jade, the first half of March, and then the second half of March into the beginning of April, we'll be reading book 3, Black Powder War. I'm not sure if I'm going to read Black Powder War in March just because I have a lot else going on. I might wait till the very beginning of April to read it, but either way, I'm definitely reading Throne of Jade. Also, the Shadow and Bone Season 2 is coming out, and I have yet to read all the Grishaverse books, so I'm trying to catch up on my Grishaverse reading before the show comes out. I, as of recording this, am 2/3 the way through Siege and Storm, and I will definitely be reading Ruin and Rising in March. As far as the readathons go, Middle Earth March, I have been considering trying to reread Lord of the Rings, or at least The Hobbit. I am definitely not planning on reading all of them in March, but I might try to read The Hobbit in March just to participate in Middle Earth March shenanigans. The science fiction fantasy book club that I take part in, their March books are Babel and A Memory Called Empire. Obviously, I read The Poppy War and absolutely loved it, so I want to read everything R.F. Kuang at this point. So Babel is high on my list. If the book from my library comes in time, I will be reading Babel in March. And A Memory Called Empire has basically been on my TBR since this book came out, so it's a really good reason to read it, and then I can discuss it with people. So I do plan on reading that in March as well. Speaking of R.F. Kuang, I would love to continue The Poppy War. I'm not sure that this will happen in March, though. Just because I'm planning on reading so many other things, this might wait until April before I continue it. But The Poppy War is very high on my list right now to continue. I very recently found out about Mythology March, which especially focuses on feminist mythology retellings or mythology retellings from a female point of view, which did make me realize, oh yeah, it is Women's History Month in March. I have so many mythology retellings on my TBR. I've yet to read almost any of them, so this would be a great time to sit down and read them, but just with everything else going on, again, I'm not sure that I'm going to. There are a handful of prompts for this readathon. I will have readathons linked in the description. You can find out any more information there. I'm not planning on making a TBR for this readathon, but I might consider trying to pick up one of the mythology retellings that's on my TBR. As far as Women's History Month goes, I found this book at the library very recently. This was a new book on their new shelf. It's called Polar Exposure. It's about an all-women's expedition to the North Pole. I think it sounds really cool, and Women's History Month would be a great time to read about real-life women doing cool things. I also have been getting into nonfiction a little bit more, so again, nonfiction is something I'm interested in reading, especially real people's stories. I'm not sure if I'll get to that one in March, but I definitely want to get to it soon. Now for Middle Grade March, this is the one that I have the most prompts filled out because this was the readathon that I was planning to participate in that I knew about months ago. I participated in this last year and I was expecting to participate in it again this year. The other readathons kind of snuck up on me. Somehow always forget about Middle Earth March, and I think it's just because it conflicts with so many other readathons. It's just like, oh my gosh, I want to read everything. So for Middle Grade March, I have a TBR planned for all of the prompts, but hopefully I will get to them in March, though I will allow myself to maybe change up my prompts as I go if I decide to mood read something else, just because I had such a strict schedule for February and I kind of want a little bit more freedom in March. The group read for Middle Grade March is A Rover's Tale, which is about a fictional Mars rover and his adventures, which sounds really cute, and I'm kind of into outer space right now, so this sounds perfect for me. I'm really excited to read the group read this year. Now to go over the books that I have for the prompts. The first prompt is to read an award-winning book that's not a Newbery Award. So just any of the other middle grade book awards, of which there are many. I'm not exactly sure what I'm reading for this prompt, but I have two in mind. The first one is Freewater, which is a Newbery Award winner. It is also the Coretta Scott King Award winner this past year as well. So because it's the Coretta Scott King Award winner, I might try to read it for this prompt. And I have been interested in this book since I found out about it. It is about these two boys who escaped a plantation and then find freedoms in more ways than one. And I'm curious to read it. The other book I might read for this prompt is Show Me a Sign, which is the Snyder Family Book Award winner. It is about a deaf community. I haven't really read any books about the deaf community, which makes me kind of interested in this one. It also looks like a fairly short book, which might be good for my March plans. The next prompt is to read a sci-fi book, and I'm planning on reading The Last Cuentista for this because The Last Cuentista has been on my TBR since it came out. It is a middle grade book about this family or a group of people who are leaving Earth because Earth is becoming uninhabitable, and our protagonist is the last storyteller. I think her role is to tell the stories of Earth. I haven't really looked into what this book's about since I added it to my TBR because I kind of want to go into it without refreshing myself what it's about just before I read it, but I am really excited to read that one. The next prompt is to read a book with sea or sky on the cover, which can be on the cover in the cover art or in the title. I am planning on reading Lalani and the Distant Sea. This is inspired by Filipino folktales. I've had this one on my TBR for a while and it looks really good. I'm really hoping to get to this one in March. The next prompt is to read a book with a neurodivergent main character. I'm planning on reading A Kind of Spark. It is about an autistic girl in Scotland, I believe, who's finding out about the witch hunts and realizing that some of the people they were hunting down as witches were probably just different or neurodivergent like she was, so she wants to honor them in a special way. And the last prompt is to read a book released in the past year, which I am planning on reading Solimar. This has also been on my TBR since it came out. It is, I believe, a magical realism tale about a girl who is tasked as the guardian of the monarch butterflies. So those are all the middle grade March prompts, as well as everything else I might possibly be reading in March. Hopefully I can get through the majority of the books on this list. And if not, they'll probably spill over into April because I'm excited to read so many of these. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your plans are for reading in March. And if you're participating in any of these readathons. Have a good day and happy reading.